50 million years ago, a four-legged hoofed creature moved across the western plains. It was graceful and strong. It lived in tightly bonded herds that passed its culture down from generation to generation. It evolved into one of the hardiest survivors this continent has ever known. By the 1800s, more than 2 million wild horses roamed the American West. They became the symbol of a wild and free nation. The 1800s brought with it barbed wire and competition for rangeland. It also brought the advent of roundups. Wild horses were harvested by the hundreds of thousands. Most went to slaughter. The removals continue today. From the 2 million horses that once ran free, fewer than 32,000 remain. With every roundup, horses are ripped from their families, habitat is destroyed, lives are lost, and another piece of genetic diversity is gone forever. America's wild horse is losing everything, and America is losing something it will never get back. On 300 acres in central California, there's a place where wild horses can still run free. Here, over 200 horses have found refuge in the rolling hills of Return to Freedom Sanctuary. Its founder, Netta DeMeo, developed a concern for the wild horse early in life.
Probably around the age of 6 or 7, I saw something on television of wild horses being chased by helicopters in a roundup. I couldn't believe that people would do this to these beautiful creatures. As the issue heated up again in the 90s, I was surprised to see the situation was still as bad as it was. And instead of being angry and frustrated, I decided to take action.
The DeMeo family agreed to put their life savings into a 300-acre ranch for wild horses. It was decided that the sanctuary should take a new approach.
From my perspective, what wasn't being addressed was the fact that these are herd animals in social groups, and they're suffering every time they're removed from their home territory and from their families.
Return to Freedom became the first sanctuary to rescue entire family bands from the wild. Today there are 6 wild herds at the sanctuary. With his 9 mares and offspring, the stallion Mystic still lives in his original wild family band, with a few additions. The herds at the sanctuary are separated by geographic origin to preserve their particular bloodlines. Mystic's herd free ranges on over 150 acres, along with 3 other bands of horses from the same region. Return to Freedom is dedicated to preserving the genetic diversity of the American wild Mustang. It's home to over 10 genetic strains of wild horse, 5 of which have unique bloodlines, like these rare Kiger Mustangs. These Wilbur Cruz mission horses are also rare. There may be as few as 100 left. With their primitive striping and tricolored manes, Sulphur Springs horses have DNA similar to the Iberian Soraya, a species that dates back to 25,000 BC. With every roundup, centuries of natural evolution are being erased. This stallion, with his government brand, has spent the past 2 years in a Bureau of Land Management holding pen just below his wild range in the Surbat Mountains of Arizona. There are fewer than 70 Surbats left in the wild. Return to Freedom strives to rescue horses like Amante, not only for their own well-being, but for the preservation of the American wild horse. Though they try to relocate entire family bands, the sanctuary won't turn their backs on individuals in need. A number 3 brand meant this older stallion from a Nevada roundup was destined to spend the rest of his life in a holding pen. At Return to Freedom, George has formed a new herd with a band of bachelors, not uncommon in the wild. The casualties of government policy come in all shapes and sizes. These orphans were only months old when they lost their mothers in a roundup. In the same holding pen was a paint mare. Paloma arrived at the sanctuary severely malnourished and pregnant. No one knew whether she or the foal would survive. Today, Paloma is the healthy mother of a pink filly named Francesca Rose. Rose will never know her mother's wild herd, but here she's part of an extensive new herd, including the 4 orphans. Paloma has been instrumental in their education, teaching them the social behaviors their mothers would have taught them in the wild. With roundups ongoing, the sanctuary's numbers keep growing. There are now over 200 permanent residents.
On 300 acres, we don't have enough land to sustain all the horses here year-round. At certain times of the year, we're supplementing over 100 tons of hay a month. Sometimes it just seems like we're trying to do the impossible because the need never seems to end.
With such limited resources, the sanctuaries had to find a way to keep the numbers down.
One of the neat things about Return to Freedom is that because we let the stallions and mares hang out, we give birth control. It's non-hormonal, it's completely reversible. The families can live together and they can have their natural behaviors. With the gun, if I do it right and the timing's right, it could be just a fly-bite as far as they're concerned.
Education is key to Return to Freedom's mission. This rare Kiger Mustang was the focus of DreamWorks' animated film Spirit. He now serves as an ambassador, inspiring the next generation to care about horses in the wild. Each month, Return to Freedom opens its doors to the public. Special workshops are held each summer for youth at risk.
By protecting the diversity and the well-being of other species that we share this planet with, we are also protecting ourselves. Horses are one of the species that really are a bridge to reconnect with the natural world.
September of 2003 marked what may be the largest horse neglect case in U.S. history. 125 wild Mustangs arrived at Return to Freedom. They were emaciated, many of them sick. A private rancher had received over 700 Mustangs from the state of Nevada. In an effort to get rid of horses from the range, they're made available to just about anyone. The stallion didn't stand a chance. He died shortly after arriving at the sanctuary. Just another horse who fell through the cracks. With fresh water and proper feed, most of the horses quickly regained their health. Within 10 months, many had found permanent homes. But there'll be plenty of others to take their place, as long as the roundups continue.
We have to inspire the American people again to care about the American wild horse and to care about what's happening on some of these remote areas of our public lands.
Return to Freedom will continue to protect America's wild horse and fight for change. Only with understanding and compassion will there be a future for one of the most magnificent creatures that's ever walked the earth.